Welcome to Sacred Magic. Violet is on a quest to bring sacredness back into our everyday experiences. Anyone can have an extraordinary life when they are able to tap into their sacred magic within. Violet and her guests will be sharing their divine passions, inspirations, and stories of connecting with their sacred magic. We are so happy you have joined us today. Let's get started with your host, the magical creator of Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Violet Rain.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Sacred Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Violet, and today my guest is Randi. Randi began practicing alternative health and mind-body wellness back in 1997, first as a Reiki practitioner and then a yoga therapist. Over the next 10 years, added other certifications such as intuitive coaching, the results system, clinical hypnotherapy, and various energy healing classes. Over the years, she has attuned hundreds of people to Reiki, taught a myriad of mind-body healing classes, taught the fundamentals of the human energy system and healing. She's the author of the book Foundations of Energy Healing, the essential guide to opening into the quantum field from 2015, which she also offers online classes. Today, as a psychic healer in a channel, Randi receives holistic information about health, life, trajectories, and ascension information. This information can be found on her YouTube channel as well as in her book, Your Dose of Truth. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
That's a lot of information sometimes, right?
Yes.
Especially when we hear it about ourselves. It's always kind of funny how that comes in. So welcome to the show.
Thanks. Yeah, I know. It's hard to distill like 25 years of work and information and the ins and outs of how I got from there to here, you know?
It is in a few sentences. I mean, that's really difficult. Well, share with us a little bit, what did get you to what you do today? Because I feel like in today's world, we're kind of led down a path. And if you had told yourself 25 years ago you would be doing what you do today, you would have probably not believed it. So share with us a little bit on how you've gotten to where you are today.
That's a really excellent point, because when I first started even thinking about this, I didn't know anybody who was a healer. I didn't know where it came from in my mind. I just, when I was working for nonprofits, and I was in first New York City and then Washington, D.C., and suddenly I felt like I was supposed to be able to heal with my hands. And again, like, the only thing I'd ever heard of was that kind of religious hands-on healing, which was not even in my background. And so I just started looking around, like, where am I going to find this? What is it that I'm thinking that I need to be doing here? And I ended up finding a book on Reiki and bought it. And then a friend stopped by and said, "Oh my gosh, I just today met a person who teaches that. That's so weird, you know." But again, it was still an unknown back in 1997. And so it started me on the track, because I went and took the Reiki classes and came to find out that I was very good at it, meaning I was able to understand energy. I was able to see it and follow it and use the training to kind of build on it. And it was just a full-time practice for me of constantly working with energy and asking my guides, show me what this is, show me what this looks like, show me how to perceive this. And so, did a lot of good healings on people physically, emotionally, and it just sort of, it's just what I was built to do. So I just kept working on it. The clinical hypnotherapy was fantastic. I did that in 2003 and practiced that for at least 10 years. And that, for 10 years, 15, I think. And that's also, I mean, it's an amazing way to make changes in your life for anything. But the other thing I really liked about it was I did a lot of past life regressions. And so I really worked in the etheric field. I worked in, the metaphysical with the hypnotherapy. And so all of that together, just, again, it kept building and it kept training me psychically. So that's how I ended up here.
I love that. It's almost like layers, right? We get led to this and we do this for a little while. And then we get led to this and we do this for a little while. And then we get led over here.
Right.
Years and years ago, even before where you started, where people stepped into this type of work, which was few and far between, a healer would always just be a healer. A reader would always just be a reader. They didn't really move out of those realms. They would do that 25, 30 years. And today, what I find is most people have a big toolbox of lots of tools, and we're integrating lots of different things together, whatever we resonate with that draws us, that brings us in. And I think that's what makes this so powerful is it's not just one tool. It's this whole bucket of tools that we come with. And I know for me, there are several things that I really resonate with that I use. So I can't call it just this, right? It's all of this. And so that's kind of hard to describe sometimes.
That's right. It is. It's Violet. It's you. It's who you are is, as the healer. And that's true. And I feel that way about myself as well. When people say, so what do you do? Or how do you do it? It's like, it's just me and everything that I know. And I pull it together and it's a package. And it's the same for everybody and completely different for everybody.
Right? And I love that about it, because that's exactly it. It's the same, but it's different. It's not the same. Even when and I'm a reader, right? So I love to play in the Akashic records, and you talked about past life regression. What I find is everybody does that differently too. Everybody connects differently. Everybody kind of gets different information. And I think that's what makes it so powerful when we step in, because it's us personally and what we resonate with. You talk about waking up the DNA. So in energy healing, we don't talk a lot about DNA. At least I haven't had people on the show that we've talked about DNA. So I'm kind of excited to chat about that. So talk about the codes, awakening the codes in the DNA. What does that really mean?
Well, actually, that came through some channeling work that I did. And what the guides and masters are telling us is that we have entered this timeline on the planet where the codes in our DNA are waking up. That it's like they've been asleep and they were programmed for a very specific moment in time, and we are entering that moment in time. And we can see that in how our astrology these days is very different than it used to be, meaning that we're seeing alignments that we haven't seen before astrologically. And so all of the planets that are pulling on us and all of the different ways that the earth is waking up and the vibrations are changing are the sort of the keys to unlock these codes within us. And as they unlock, we are going to begin to remember our divinity. We're going to be able to remember who we are. We're going to be coming out of this level of sleep that we've been in, where we talk about not being able to see beyond the veil. This is going to begin to shift.
I love that. And just know, folks, I'm not touching my computer. That's the universe going,
oh my gosh, really? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I'm not doing that, and it's popping up. So
I'm not doing it either.
Hysterical. I find that hysterical, because it's not us. It is the system doing that, and there's no one else on this call with us but me and Randy. So, thumbs up. Yeah, this is perfect.
God. I totally thought there was someone else in the background doing that. Amazing. Amazing.
You got to go with some of this stuff, right? And I do believe that. I mean, I've met people for several years now that talk about our DNA, and there are pieces of our DNA that haven't been activated, that there were codes missing, or codes that are needed, or codes that need to be activated. You're not the only person I've heard that from, and I find that fascinating that we have codes and activating. So I do what I call a DNA activation, where I actually start feeding your body light, which helps your DNA really activate more of
Cool.
that coding that's in there, which makes perfect sense, right? Makes
Yes.
perfect sense. So
Yes.
you talked about being a channel, and I know that you channel. What does that mean to be a channel, and who are you channeling? Because I listened to a few on your YouTube channel today. So share with us a little bit what that is so that listeners know.
Great. Yes. So it was probably around 2014, maybe a little earlier, when I really felt like I was starting to receive information that wasn't my thoughts, but that it was really coming from elsewhere or a higher perspective. And so what I did was I started asking friends if they would, we had really informal gatherings, and I said, just ask me questions of things I don't know, and let me see if I can get some information for you. And I started playing around with it and realizing that I was getting some really nice, clean and detailed information for people. Then one day, rather out of the blue, I felt again that someone was trying to, it's a feeling of like being pushed, and someone was kind of pushing on me, and I stopped what I was doing and I said, go ahead, speak to me. And I heard, we would like you to be a voice for us on the earth. And I said, who are you? And they called themselves the Federation of Councils. And my understanding was that they were a very large galactic group that wanted to offer some guidance. So for many years, I worked with the Federation of Councils, and they helped me write the book that I wrote, Foundations of Energy Healing. And more recently, within the last year, the Arcturians have stepped in. I've been very interested in them. They are also a galactic group that really protect the planet and have done so for eons and eons and eons. They've been there for this planet and overseeing humanity for all this time. And they always have wonderful insights and information for people. And then I know this is, I hope people understand that there are a lot of galactic groups that support this planet out there, and they're eager to talk to us at this point because of the changes that we're going through right now. They're really rooting for us, and they also see that there's a very chaotic factor on the planet going on right now, and it's very distracting. And these groups are like, look, we can help you get past all those distractions and move into your mastery as your DNA is awakening and opening for you. And so that's what a lot of these messages I get are about. I do local channeling, but I also have a YouTube page. I put everything on there. And now I've been doing weekly Facebook Lives, where just a short message once a week to remind people how to continue to feel good, how to stay light and in the heart, and things like that. So my messages are always very hopeful and supportive.
I love that, because I believe, this is personal belief, and I really find that true, that you're talking to a being, or you're connecting to something of, if you're channeling, or if you're listening to your divine team, here's when you know that it is pure light. They will never ask you to hurt anyone. If something
That's right.
is asking you to hurt someone, that is not of light. They will also typically not tell you what to do. because there is this law that everybody must follow, that you have free will, free choice, and there is no choice that's bad, but they're not going to tell you what to do. So when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I went to a reader or a coach and their guides told me that I should break up with my husband, that is not light. They will never, ever tell you what to do. They will say, here's some things to consider. Here's some things to think about. Here's some things that you should see, but they're never going to tell you exactly what to do because there's no bad choice. That's hard for us to wrap our mind around, right? You can't make a bad choice. You can't veer too far off your path. You're always gonna get led back on. Right. We're so protected and guided, and we don't even realize, as you're talking, Randi, about your life and how you got to where you are, you didn't do that on your own. They said, okay, here's your next nugget. Pay attention to this. And you're like, I don't know why I'm interested in that, but I'm interested in that. Hey, here's your next little nugget, right? They're always taking care of us and guiding us. And so always keep that in mind. If we could just remember that we're sacred beings in a physical experience, right? You are divine. You are divinity having a physical experience. If you could just wrap your mind around that, everything out there will be meaningless because I'm a sacred being. I'm a divine being having a physical experience. So now what do I want to do with this experience? Right.
Right. Exactly.
We get so wrapped up in this world has unfortunately taught us that we're not worthy, that we can't have that there's not enough, that there's lack, and all that is false truths.
Right. And that things are our fault. The whole blame, shame game that we play, it's, when these guides, these masters come through, they're about here's a big picture of what's going on. Here's some information for you. And, there are choices within that information, but there's never a sense of, follow this practice, stop eating that, do this every day. They never, it's not, they don't want to be that minute in anybody's life. And I think that anybody who hears messages, whether it's their own that they're receiving or somebody they're paying to give them messages, that's not, like you said, it's not in the light to be receiving anything that minute for anybody.
And if you are receiving it, sometimes it's ego, right? Because ego was created to protect us. So ego brings in the fear. Ego brings in, oh, you don't want to do that. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, right? Ego, that sits in ego. And so sometimes you need to hear that and say, thank you so much for that information. However, I'm good. We're going this way. And, don't discard ego. Ego is part of our journey, but recognize that is probably ego speaking to you and not something of divine light and truth. And so we have to be aware of that.
Yeah, because it comes from a place of feeling that you're not good enough already. So there must be something that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing. And that's when those messages come through. It's like, tell me what I've been doing wrong. And the guides are like, really often they go silent, or something in life will shift to show you, like, this is the pattern that's going on in your life. This is what you wanted to see. Here's the pattern.
Right.
It's different though.
It is. It is. And it's so easy to say, show me, help me, guide me. I'm thinking about doing this. So I'll give you an example. So we have fairs 3 or 4 times a year in our center, psychic fairs and healers. And we moved our center last year due to lots of circumstances. We're really rebuilding and regrowing. So we're in that whole phase of starting over. And so the last time that we had a fair, the week before, we're like, I don't know if we should do these. Maybe we should cut back. Maybe we should do less. Maybe we shouldn't do so many. Okay, universe, I need some answers. You got to show me what we should do next, where we're headed. And it was very interesting that the next fair that we had was double the participation that we had. I had multiple people stop me during the fair and say, I can't wait for the next one. I'm bringing friends. I've got this on my calendar. And I was like, I was going to cancel it. Right. And Spirit's like, oh no.
That's right.
This is where you're supposed to go. So just remember, if you ever have uncertainty or you're not sure, ask. Help me understand. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Be very clear. And for some of us, you might need to hit me with a 2x4 to get me to see it, but I need a big answer, right? I need you to be very clear with me where I should be guided, because that's guidance, right? That's not telling me what to do. That's giving me feedback, right? Of, hey, this is great. Keep doing it. You're on the right path. You're doing the right. They didn't tell me what to do. They gave me multiple people giving me feedback, right? Have you ever sat down and said, I'm not sure I should do this anymore. I'm not sure this is the right. And then somebody calls and gives you a review, or you get feedback from somebody, or somebody tells you how wonderful it was. That's your answer.
That's right. And you know what's funny for me is that oftentimes I'll do exactly that. Show me what it is. What's the answer to this question? And then something will happen, like you said, positive or negative. And weeks later, I'm like, oh, right, I asked to be shown. I totally forgot.
Right.
So there's that thing of remembering that you asked, and then when the answer comes, remembering that that's your answer.
Right? Because they're constantly guiding, giving us feedback, guiding us along the path. They really are. You just got to trust some of that, and awareness, right? Again, you have to be very aware of what's going on and what's happening. I find in today's world, and I don't know about you, Randy, with all the chaos, right? COVID, after COVID, all the stuff that's going on and has been going on. We want to go back to the way it was before, and that doesn't exist anymore. So sometimes I'll sit and go, okay, I don't understand. I'm supposed to be doing something new. I know I'm supposed to be looking at this in a new way. I don't know what that is. You've got to show me, because I'm really unclear at this point. Like, why is this stuff happening? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Please help me make sense. And then you just got to sit in that and trust that, and those answers are going to come, because sometimes it makes no sense, right?
Isn't that true? For anything, there are times when you can ask, yes or no, should I do this? Is it best for me to do this or best for me to not? And you won't understand why the answer is what it is. And you do have to have a lot of trust and faith to say, well, I was kind of interested in that, but I'm really feeling like the answer is no, so I'm going to say no. And 9 times out of 10, you find out much later why that answer was no. But it's so important to just be with that intuition and receptive to it, and surrender to it, and not let your ego go, but I really wanted to, so I'm going to just say, well, you know what, if I'm going to follow this path of trust, I have to then step back and say, even though I wanted to, I won't.
Yeah, because I think that's so important. Now, you have a question on here, the importance of dropping judgment and blame. Talk a little bit about what that is.
Sure. The masters tell us these days, the masters are these galactic beings who, know much more about us than we know. They talk about it's the most important part of this growth that we're in right now is to get out of the duality of feeling that we can judge anybody else. You know, they're very aware of the politics in the world and how inundated we are with that information. Even those of us who don't watch the news can be inundated with that information. And they're like, look, you know, the polarity and the duality of judging people and of criticizing and thinking that you know better has got to go. It has got to go. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, just walk away. The only, you know, they say we have no control over many of these huge experiences on this planet, like the whole political system, the whole financial system, the whole this, that, and the other. But what we do have control over are our thoughts and our ability to tap into our heart centers and stay there. And from there, we become the light that feeds the planet instead of getting involved with the darkness that wants to spin us out of control. And that's really what that means.
You know, there's so much truth in that, right? Who cares, right? Okay, so I'm going to get on my little band box here for a minute, right? In today's world, who cares who you're voting for, who you support, what legislation you really want to come through? Doesn't change how I feel about you, doesn't change what I think about you. Yes, you should have a voice to be able to share your opinion, to be able to share your idea, what you think, but you shouldn't push that on others. You should say, this is my perspective. This is where I come from. You can have your perspective. I still love you. I still care about you. You're still my friend. I have no judgment, no criticism in any of that. If we could get to that place, that would be amazing. But what ends up happening is somebody states something that they believe in from their heart space, and then everybody jumps on to that critical judgment, criticism bandwagon, and they feel attacked.
That's right.
Hurt, like it's negative, it's dark, right? It's really dark. What does it matter? We're all physical, we all bleed, we all hurt, we all have pains. It doesn't matter what your belief system is about this or who you want to vote for. And I know we're in a presidential campaign right in the middle of it. None of that matters, but do we care about each other? And conversations in groups can be very difficult and uncomfortable for others that may not believe what you believe or see what you see, but it doesn't mean you can't say it. There's a place of saying what you think and then stopping and letting it go without judgment or criticism that you have to believe what I believe. You have to think the way that I think. You have to do what I do. It's about, yeah, have your voice, but can we have a voice and just hold space for each other on what that voice is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus this battle, conflict, competition, criticism, because it's not healthy. It's not healthy for any of us. And when that person feels attacked because they don't have the same belief, you're hurting relationships. That other things do matter. You're not ever going to fully align with everybody you come in contact with. We're not supposed to. But we're supposed to be compassionate and loving, just like these beings are like, we don't care who you vote for. We don't care what stand you're taking. We still love you. We don't care what mistakes you make. We still love you. We don't hold that against you. If we could get to that place, right? As humans in this human experience, think about how better the world would be.
Right, exactly. I think too, there's so much fear about what's going to happen if this person or that person is running the world. And I think what the beings say is that, whenever the question of like, what's the best thing for the world or for our country, there's no answer to that, because really what the best thing is is everybody calming down and everybody really listening to their hearts and discerning for themselves what feels true and letting everybody else do the same thing. That's actually what's the best, right? It takes the heatedness, the hotness out of all of it and allows everybody to feel more grounded and more sure of their own decisions. And that's actually the best thing right there. So whatever's happening on the outside and away from us and far away is not, it's not in our control. And it's not it's not the question. The question is what's happening in the heart.
Mm-hmm. Bringing more light and positivity to the world, that space of joy. Because when you get wrapped up in the worry and the fear, you really don't solve anything. I mean, that's really the truth. And it's hard when you're worrying about something or you're unsettled to really worry about it. And I think the thing I try to do every time I get in that space is everything is always working out for me better than I expected. Everything is always working out for me better than I expected. I may not be able to see what the final outcome is right now, and I'm worrying about something in the future. Yeah. But if you keep stating in your mind, everything is always working out better than I expected, guess what? It's always going to work out better than you expected.
That's right. And I can even feel as you're saying that, how the vibration shifts from the worry, which is fear of the future, to the positive expectation. It's an actual shift in energetics that brings you out of, maybe I can say like a heaviness that's moving in one direction into a lightness that's moving into another direction. And that's exactly how we work. That's exactly how we're wired to work in the world. So it's the perfect way to take your own power.
Right. And if you keep saying it over and over again, what I can guarantee you is you'll move out of that into this and you'll be calm and you won't worry. Think about a time, even the most devastating times, and I've been there. Yeah. Where you're like, oh my gosh, why am I here? What did I do to deserve this? Why did I do this? It always turns out better than I ever thought that it would. I was always supported through the whole thing. It may have been rough and tough, but it taught me some things. It gave me new perspectives. There was real purpose. I can't think of any time bad that there wasn't good within that. And that sounds crazy. But if you can see that positivity in the glass half full and move out of everything is terrible, it really shifts. And we're human. We're going to fall back into those patterns and just remember how to pull yourself back out. Everything is always working out better than I expected. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I am always supported. They've always got my back. Right?
And there's no life that is stress-free and, issue-free. There's just no life that is. It's not about, it's so hard not to take that stuff personally, and like you said, what did I do to deserve this? It's like, well, it's just life sometimes. It's just the agreements we make when we decide to be here.
That is true. That is true. Well, Randi, share with us a little bit of how people can connect with you, some of the things that you offer so that they can know that.
Thank you. So I do both personal readings and healings, and I can be found on my website, randibotnick.com. I know it'll be in the notes, but I'll spell it just in case you're just listening. RandiBotnick.com. Facebook, YouTube, and I offer some online classes, my book on foundations of energy healing, Your Dose of Truth, which is a book of channeled messages and recorded healings, short meditations. And there are other classes coming up as well. I'm in the Asheville, North Carolina area, so if you're in that area, there are local events. These are all on my website, and some online classes. There's an online class coming up around money and our bliss.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Randi, thank you for taking the time today to come and be on the show and spend some time in conversation. It's been very lovely. As you continue on your path to expand and grow, know that you're always welcome to come back and join us again and schedule time. We're booking next year already, and so those dates are available and out there through almost August next year. So we will start filling the podcast with guests again next year. And I love having people back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. This is great. Thank you. It's so nice to meet you.
It's so nice to meet you too. And I wish you all the best. And for those listening, please make sure you like, comment, follow us on your favorite platforms. We love to stay connected with you in all of these podcasts. So I hope that you're finding them very valuable. And I wish you a sacred and magical week.